So just a reminder to people as well, you don't have to wait for these trainings to get questions answered on some of the items. I can do a hangout session with one-on-one with people or with small groups in your department to go over any of these things. You can always email me. And if people have general questions, I try to share those on the staff portal. So someone had a question about working with folders in Gmail today. So if you look at the staff portal site, there's a post on that. And I strongly encourage people to check that every day and look through the tips and tricks along with the other help, just to get the most out of using Google Apps. So just some real quick general reminders for those just joining us. Definitely make sure you're reading the staff portal every day. We try to post, 1 or 2 items every day, either stuff that is useful to know or questions that have come in from other users. So if you can see my screen now, you can see on the staff portal that there's some useful stuff there, and you can always go down to the View More section and read through all the posts from the past that are in there. And of course, the Google help is always available to you, along with Chrome help. There's some really good, useful tips and tricks in there for getting the most out of it. So we're going to try to keep these to about 30 minutes. That seems to be about a good time for people, so it doesn't get overwhelming with the information coming in. Today is a little bit of an advanced topic. We're going to talk about working with attachments in your inbox, but more importantly, starting to understand how Google Drive works and what it can offer to you versus sort of standard attachments. Everybody should be able to sign into Google Drive. If you go to your Start button and go to All Programs and scroll down, you should see a folder that says Google Drive, and inside that there's a link for Google Drive. If you open that up, you'll be able to sign in using your town email address and password. I'm going to go ahead and drag over what that looks like once you sign in. By signing in, you can just tab through the different questions, just accept the defaults, and just sort of hit next on your way through. And what that's going to do, it's going to create basically a local Google Drive program on your computer, and you'll see that it will appear in your list of local locations. So here's my Google Drive folder, and you can see that inside of that folder, I've got all of the folders and documents and items that are basically stored with my account in the cloud. So this is kind of like Google Drive training wheels. There's some useful stuff here. It allows you to work with stuff in Google Drive like a local folder. So you can open up Excel and browse it and open things into it and save things to it and get all of the benefits of using Google Drive with all the familiarity of using the local Windows file structure. So you can do nice stuff like use it to create folders. You can create documents in here. If you want to take existing files, say from your X Drive or other locations, you can move those into this folder. They'll still be available on your desktop, but they will also sync with the cloud, and you'll get all the benefits of having them in the cloud in addition to having that sort of native file structure. For now, we're only going to move personal items over to this, so things that are in your X Drive or on your desktop or in your My Documents folder. Don't move anything that's any of the shared folders into Google Drive. That's a little bit of a different project in the future. So this is really just your stuff for now. And a reminder that when you do put stuff in Google Drive, it is only shared with you by default until you go ahead and change those sharing settings. So after this training session today, if you haven't already, I want everyone to go ahead and try to sign into Drive on their desktop. And you can go ahead and start setting up some folder structure and getting that working the way you want, because that's gonna be a big help. And again, if you have any questions on that or run into any trouble or simply can't find it, just shoot me an email or give me a call and I'll help walk you through that. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my inbox here in Gmail. And I'm going to go ahead and browse to my Drive really quick. So you'll notice that I'm in my browser in the cloud, and I'm looking at the same things that I was looking at on my desktop. So those are synced up here, which is kind of a cool piece of functionality. So I can also work directly in the cloud in Google Drive. I can come over here and I can create new folders. I can upload files and I can upload folders. And that kind of duplicates what I would do on my local computer. This is what you would do if you wanted to access or manage your Google Drive documents on a computer that didn't have the Google Drive app installed, or you simply wanted to work with a native Google document or other items. So a few quick notes on working with Google Drive. Again, this is by far the most powerful piece in Google Apps and takes the longest for people to wrap their minds around and get comfortable with. So we're going to be talking about this in future sessions. You can think about Google Drive as kind of like your My Documents folder in the cloud. So instead of going to My Documents, I'm going to go to my grid and I'm going to select Google Drive, and that's going to bring me over to my Google Drive. You can see it's got a folder structure. There are files. You can search through it. So think of this as My Documents in the cloud. And it has some advantages. So you can share documents, you can access documents no matter where you are. You don't have to be on the town network. You don't have to be on your computer. You don't have to be on a specific computer. If you're home, if you're on your phone, if you're on a tablet, if you need to get to important information quickly, to share it, to access it by storing it in Google Drive, you can access that securely through your account no matter where you are. Much like the My Documents folder or your X Drive on your computer, you're going to benefit from putting some thought and organization into this folder. If you just start dumping, like I've done a little bit here, all kinds of documents right in your My Documents folder on your desktop, it's going to be hard to manage and find those. So I recommend either through the Drive interface here or through the local Google Drive folder on your computer to do some good file management, to create some good folders, make sure that you're naming things properly. And that's going to go a long way as you're storing things to be able to put it someplace easily and find it easily. There's a couple differences in Google Drive that make it a little easier versus the way you're used to storing documents on your computer. For one thing, you can just name things in plain text. You don't have to do underscores. You can put spaces in things. You don't have to worry about the file type. And there's some advantages of that, namely that by putting the plain text of things in both the document and the folder name, I can search for that by name. If I start putting underscores or dots or that kind of stuff into file names, it's going to be harder to find. There's also a nice advantage in Google Drive in that every folder and document has a link associated with it. In Windows, if I rename or move a document, it can break that link or make it hard to find. The nice thing in Google Docs and Google Drive, if I rename folders or move things around, it doesn't break the links to documents. So those are permanent links no matter what you name or move that document. So if you shared a document with people and you moved it to a different folder and renamed it, they'd still be able to use the link to get back to that document as long as the permissions are still good on that. And we're going to talk about the permissions in a little bit because that can be confusing for people. So that is basically the way to think about Google Drive. You can store any type of file type in it. So you can put Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint, or as you get a little bit more advanced, you can start creating new documents in here in the Google Doc format. There's docs, sheets, slides, which is like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and a new feature where you can actually create fillable forms, and that'll be a future topic. So if you haven't already, you can start playing around with creating some of these file types as opposed to using Word. Again, they both work, and there are some advantages to these, namely around being able to collaborate and keeping documents updated without having to resend or create copies. And again, we'll get into that in a future topic. But today I want to go over just managing this as especially relates to attachments and email, because it's very easy to sort of create a mound of documents that you then can't find. So let's go back to my inbox and let's talk about some practical applications for dealing with attachments. So here's a quick example. So Hung has shared, basically attached a Word document to an email. So this is something that everybody is familiar with. Now, one of the things you have to remember when we're working in the cloud is that this document is sort of already in the cloud. You can work with it. In Outlook, we were used to kind of downloading and opening every file, saving it on our computer in the S drive, etc. You can certainly still do that, but you don't have to. And there's some advantages to not doing that. So when I'm looking at this document, and this is a Word document, I can see the name of it here. If I hover over that, that's going to turn gray. I can simply click on that document, and it's going to give me a preview of that document right in my browser. Now, at this point, I haven't downloaded it. I haven't done anything with it. And at the top here, it's going to give me a few options. The basic ones, I can go ahead and print that document, and it's going to give me the option to go ahead and print, usually to my default printer here, but I can also change, and I can pick any of the printers I'm connected to on my computer. Now, one of the benefits of using Chrome and Google Drive is I have the ability to save any type of document as a PDF, or anything that I print from Chrome or Gmail as a PDF. You don't have to have a special PDF program on your computer to be able to do that. So if any of you have ever wanted to create PDF from Word files or web pages, you have that ability from anywhere you print inside of Chrome or Gmail. Go ahead and cancel out of that. So you'll also notice on my document preview here that I can download it. So whenever I see the arrow, I can download it. I can also go ahead and save it right to Drive. And then this allows me to take that Word document and convert it into an editable Google document that I could then edit and share within my browser. So we'll get into that kind of last. I can get information and view and pop out that document and all sorts of stuff over here. Here you can see I've got the name. If I go ahead and close that, it's going to bring me back. You'll notice that if I hover over that, I've also got some options directly on the document. So I can go ahead and download that. I can save it right to my drive, or I can convert it to a Google Doc and start editing it right in my browser. And again, that'll be a topic for another day. So keep in mind that you don't necessarily have to download that file all the time, because when you do that, you're kind of making a copy of that. And that can start creating multiple versions and get confusing for tracking. Although if you've got the Google Drive app installed, you can kind of cheat and you can download it, but I can actually pick my Google Drive on my computer, navigate to the folder that I want to put it in, go ahead and pick a name and save that. And that will sort of download it to my computer, but also put it in Drive at the same time, and we can get some of the benefits. I can also click on this Drive link, and that's going to allow me to take that document as it is and move it into a folder. So in this case, I'm just going to put it right in my Drive folder. You can see I could browse to subfolders, or I could even create a new folder on the fly there. And you'll notice when I did that, now when I hover over this, it doesn't say Save to Drive, it says Show in Drive. So now when I go to open that up, it's going to take me to my Drive, and you'll notice that it's highlighted right there. So now I can come in Drive and I can do some advanced things with that. Just like Windows, I can actually right-click on that and I can rename it. I can move it to another folder. I can change how that's shared. I can do all kinds of cool stuff with that file right there. I can also drag it around to folders or things like that. I could delete it if I wanted to. So what's the advantage of doing that versus just downloading it to my desktop and then reattaching? So this is one place I've seen people struggle a little bit inside Gmail. So there are many times when I get an attachment either from a photocopier or somebody sent it to me, and people want to be able to send that document to somebody else. So keep in mind, if I hit reply, it doesn't automatically attach that document. And now that's not something that's new in Gmail. That's something that's true in most mail programs. This was true in Outlook as well. So what I see a lot of times is people will hit reply, then they'll re-upload using the attach button, that same document, and send it out. So now I've kind of created like 2 or 3 copies of that file to accomplish that. So the simplest way, if I want to share that document with other people, is instead of replying, I'm just going to go ahead and forward it. So anytime you forward a message, it's going to include any attachments that were on the original message. So I don't have to go ahead and reattach that. But in this case, we have some advanced functionality. Because I saved that to Drive, I don't have to download it. I don't have to forward. So I could simply hit reply, and instead of hitting the attach button, I'm going to hit my Google Drive button. And that's going to go ahead and let me in my Google Drive folder, where I can look and I can find documents to attach. And the nice thing is, because this is Google, I can just go ahead and search for something by name. I can also change the way I'm sorting here. Usually recent items will be kind of sitting, right? So you'll see that there's that document. So now I didn't have to attach it, and I can link to that document that's saved in Drive. And the beauty of this, I can do that over and over and over again, and I'm creating links back to that document for people. So I'm not creating multiple copies of it. The other advantage of doing that is that I'm no longer limited by file size attachment limitations. I'm sure everyone's run into trying to email a very large file to someone and having it bounce back because it exceeds the file size limitation. So when I'm using Google Drive, I'm actually sending a link to the document. I'm not sending the document itself as an attachment. So it's more efficient. It's also more secure because I maintain control over that file. I can always go back to that file, and I can change the way it's being shared with people, so that I can remove permissions, or I could just go back and delete the file, and that would prevent people from accessing it. And that's fairly easy to manage. I can also attach multiple documents from Drive, or I could insert an entire folder and share that with people in Drive. So there's a lot of powerful things that you can do in that. All right, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and delete out of that. If you had multiple attachments here, in addition to the items here, you'll also get an additional link over here that allows you to download or save all of those documents to Drive at once, so you don't have to process them at once. So those are some basics of just using attachments and using Drive versus your sort of download button. And again, we'll get into editing and converting things in a Google Doc in another message. So again, let's go over some practical applications of using Google Drive. So if I'm composing a new message, what I'd like people to get into the habit of thinking is thinking of the Drive button, either in a reply or a new message, as kind of a new attachment. So instead of hitting the paperclip, I'm going to start hitting my Drive button. And what that's going to let me do is right away, it's going to let me browse any documents that I already have in Drive. And again, I can search, I can link whole folders. In this case, I'm going to keep working with this file right here, this Word document here. I could hold down Control and select multiple things. I could hold down Shift and select multiple things, just like using Windows. But let's say, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that. But let's say I didn't think ahead, and I don't already have the document or folders or documents that I want in Drive, but I want to share it. So I'm going to hit the Drive button. So you'll notice that I also have this upload functionality, where I can use this just like an attachment, and I can go ahead and browse my computer and upload files or folders into Drive and then go ahead and share them. So that works very similarly to an attachment, but the advantage is whatever I just attached now lives in my Drive, and I can attach that over and over again without having to keep uploading it and creating copies of it. Again, also by putting things in Drive as opposed to uploading them, I can share those documents via a Drive link no matter where I am. So if I'm on my phone or I'm on my tablet or I'm at home and somebody needs a critical document, I can go ahead and share that with them and not have to get back to my town computer or get back on the town network. It also makes it easier if you do have things that might have lived on your X drive or the S drive, that you can share those not just with people in the organization, but with the school or with anybody in the world a little easier without having to worry about giving them access to our network. So if I go ahead and upload a file for my computer, that's going to put it in Drive and do a link to that document, so I don't have to think ahead of time. Now, what's going to happen when I create recipients to that, so I'll go ahead and send that to Hung again. I can send it to groups or multiple people. When I go to send that, it's going to check the permission, because remember, everything in Google Doc has to have a permission. It's going to check the permission of that document against the people I'm sending it to. So I haven't shared that. So if I go ahead and send it, it's going to give me this little warning. And it's going to say the Drive isn't shared with the recipient. Change how the file is shared. So it's going to say, well, anyone with the town of North Andover with the link will be able to view this document, which is normally going to be fine. But I can also go in and I can customize how I want that to work. I can say, I don't want everyone at the town of North Andover to be able to view. I only want Hung to be able to view it. And you'll notice it says that recipients must have a Google account. So in order to give people this very specific level of access, they also must have a Google account, which everyone in the town or school does. If I were sharing with somebody outside of the town of North Andover, it would give me the option that anyone with the link can view that document. Now, again, that's still pretty secure because it's going to be a really long link to that document, and you have to have that as kind of a key to access that. So it's not as secure as doing this, but the benefit is they don't have to have a Gmail account. And keep in mind, it's still more secure than simply emailing them a copy of the file, because I can still go back even after sharing the link and delete that document or unshare it and still maintain control of that document. So I'm going to go ahead and do share and send. So now it's sent a link to that document to Hung, and because I set the permission on it, he'll be able to edit or open and view that. And again, the benefit is I can go ahead and I can hit compose, and I can hit my drive link here, and I can insert that document all day long. I'm not making multiple copies of it. I'm not having to keep uploading it. I don't have to be on my computer to access that file, and I've got some advanced sharing options. So that is kind of a basic way now of understanding how to work with Drive and attachments, and try to get out of the habit of downloading everything to your desktop and then sort of reattaching it. It's much more efficient and secure just to keep things in the cloud if you can, and use this link. Now, obviously, if I wanted to go in and I didn't want to convert that to a Drive document, and I didn't want to just save it or share it, if I wanted to edit that in Word, I can go ahead and download that and open it up in my Word file. The cool thing, though, is because we have that Google Drive link on our computer, if we've logged in, that I can actually just open up Word, browse my Google Drive thing, open it, save it back, and it's updating it's updating in Drive as well. So just a reminder to people from last week, when you are downloading things, that by default, Chrome is going to put everything in your download folder. But working with Drive and downloading things, we want to have the option of telling that document to go where we want it. So a real quick reminder, if I click up on the 3 lines here in Chrome and go to Settings, and I'm going to open up Advanced Settings, I'm going to want to make sure that under Downloads, this ask where to save each file before downloading is checked. And once I check that, it'll save it. And then when I go to download a file, instead of automatically putting it into my Downloads folder, it's going to give me a prompt asking me what I want to call it and where I want to put it. And again, I can just throw that right back in my Google Drive folder and keep that synced up if I want. So that's some basics around working with attachments, working with Drive. Let's go back into Drive a little bit and show you some options that you can work, because you don't have to work out of an email doing Drive. It's convenient, but you can actually do stuff right out of Drive itself. So here's that same document. So I could have either uploaded this or got that from my computer. So if I click on that document, so this is a Word file here, it's going to give me some options up here, right? So this is the link to that document. So that, remember I said that every document in Google has its own URL. So that's kind of like the key to that document. So unless I've shared it, I'm going to be the only person that can access that link, but that's the unique URL to that file. So I could copy and paste that, or I could do other stuff with that to share that with people. Every file or folder in Google Drive also has this little person here. So if I click on that, that's going to tell me who that file is shared with, or that folder is shared with. So I can see right now that it's only shared with Hung here. But if I go into Advanced, I can go ahead and tweak that a little bit. I can add specific people or groups. Again, keep in mind that they have to be Google users in order to share it by name with people. And there, as you can see, there's some other advanced security options here. So I can prevent the people I share this with from sharing it with other people or adding new people. I can also do things like disable people's ability to download, print, or copy this. So if I wanted something to be really secure where they could only sort of view it on their screen, by doing that, they'd have to like take a screenshot with their phone to get that document. So you can kind of really lock that down. And you notice up here it says specific people can access. So if I click on that, this is where I can change my global settings. And I see a question come in from Joanne, so that's good. I'll get to that in 1 second. So by default, it's going to be off or shared with specific people. I can also say that anyone in the town of North Andover with the link will be able to access this. I can say that anyone in North Andover could find and access this, so they'd be able to search for it. I could say that anyone in the world with the link could access that document. So that's how we're going to share documents with people who don't have Google account. And finally, and this is kind of a cool piece of functionality, I can say that that folder or document is viewable to anyone on the web. So anyone can search or find it. So that's useful in that we can actually use Google Drive documents to update the website. So you'll see, for example, here, if I go to the town website, I did this recently with this election, that we posted the unofficial results from the last election, the uncertified presidential primary results. And you see that's a link. When I open that, you notice that it opens up a Google spreadsheet that I've made public so the public can view it. So the cool thing is Joyce was actually able to go in and edit this Google sheet right in her browser and basically be updating the website while she's doing it. So that's a really powerful thing inside Google Drive, that we have the ability to share folders and documents with people on the website. This is a great tool potentially for doing packets or other information where you need to share large files with your boards. Or if you're working on like a construction project, you can do RFP or photos or project information and share it this way. Either publicly or securely using a link. So if anybody gets any ideas or has any ideas about how they want to use, Google Drive and sort of these more advanced ways, we can certainly set up a session and set up a case for how to use that. Okay. So what I usually do when I'm creating folders is that I will name the folder the way I have it shared, so it makes it super easy for me to remember. So here I named this folder Public Web Files, so that I know generally that things in that folder are going to be shared with everyone on the web. And so that when I put something in that folder, it's going to be shared public on the web, and I don't have to kind of look up the permissions on that. So that's part of that organization I was telling you about. All right, so Joanne has a question. What if you have a document you want to revise, but keep the original? So a couple good points. So in Google Drive, and let me go ahead and I actually took this document on this data collection document and I converted it to a Google Doc using that pencil. And the reason I did that is I can now actually edit that document right inside my browser. So the way that works is if I've got a Word or an Excel file or a PowerPoint file, it's generally going to let me convert that to a Google type document if I want to. It does a pretty good job. It's probably about 95, 98% accurate when you convert from Word to Google. I'm also able to take Google documents and convert them back to PDF or Word if I need to. And that is always going to be perfect. So if I create a Google Doc and I want to convert it to a Word document, it's always going to look exactly like the way I did it. But the advantage of doing that is now I'm kind of working on this in the cloud. You can see it looks very similar to Word. But I can also go ahead and I can share that document and bring in collaborators. So I could have multiple people in that document with me at the same time, editing it, making changes, being able to view it, etc. It's not like in Word on the S drive when one person can open a document at a time and save it back, and it's going to be difficult to manage changes. But if I go into File here, there's a thing called revision history. So one of the nice things about Google Docs is it keeps every version all the way back to the original of that document. So it's kind of like a real simple version of track changes in Word. So as I'm making changes on that document, I can always go back to any version, including the original version. And I can always restore to that and make a copy of that document at any point and never lose even the current version that I'm working on. If I were working with a Word document and I wanted to do that, you can still do sort of make a copy of that document, or if you're working in Word, you can do File, Save As, and name it and keep it that way. So you are able to have multiple versions of documents in Word or Excel, just like you would on your computer, if you want to keep an original while doing changes. But if you're working inside a Google document, the nice thing is, and if there were other people working on this, it would let me know all the changes everybody made all the way back to the beginning of that document. So for document versioning, it's a really powerful piece. So you don't really have to worry about people deleting or removing the document that you're an owner of, because you can always go back. Okay, so we're coming up on the half-hour mark. It goes pretty fast. I don't see any other questions. I know this is a really big topic, and we're going to cover this again. The takeaway from today is, if you can, go ahead and click on your start button on your computer and go to all programs, Google Drive. Go ahead and try to sign into Drive and experiment with putting things in Drive and working with documents that way. Start experimenting with different things in your attachments so that you're not always just downloading everything if you don't have to, and saving things in Drive. And honestly, just fire open Drive and take a look at the different settings. In the future, there are some really kind of slick things you can do in Drive. So if I click on my grid, and instead of going into Drive, there's actually a special container for the three big document types, for spreadsheets, for docs, and slides. So you'll notice if I open up, say, just docs, it's going to give me all the things that are either Word documents or Google Docs and nothing else. But you'll see that there's some really slick templates up here that I can access and do some really cool things with inside of Drive, that I can create, newsletters or other things right in Drive, collaborate with people, share those with people. It's going to give me the same type of thing if I go ahead and open up Sheets. So it's going to show me only all my spreadsheets in here. Again, there's some really cool templates and some other stuff that's available to you. One of the other sort of more advanced things, on a new tab, if I click into my Google Apps thing here, you also have a shortcut to the Google Forms. And this is sort of creating those fillable forms. It's going to give me all the forms that I've created here, and it's going to give me some really interesting templates for creating forms that are great for surveys or any like questionnaires or any type you want to collect information from people and have that go into a spreadsheet. So that'll be a future topic, but that's one of the kind of cool new things that we have available to us by using Google. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions, and we're starting to get past the half-hour mark. So thanks, everybody, for joining us for another session. Hopefully this was worthwhile. Again, please do not hesitate if you have any questions at all about Drive or any Gmail question. If you want to do a one-on-one hangout or have me come over, or if you have any ideas about how to use this for yourself or your department, I'd be more than happy to come over and go over some case studies for you. So I'll be editing this and sharing it on the staff portal on Monday. And until then, everybody have a great weekend. Thanks.